Hi, everyone. I have one of my clients with me today. Her name is Deb. She is an incredible designer and human being who just recently landed her next role as a principal design architect. I'm so excited for Deb, but I'm also really excited for you guys to learn more about Deb's journey, what we've helped her with, and also what made her actually join my coaching program in the first place. So let's hear it from Deb. Deb, can you just start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about your background?
Yeah, I'm a principal product designer, and I've been working in the B2B space primarily since 2000, with a little bit of time in B2C. And I've jumped around to different industries. I'm not focused in one industry, so things as varied as the legal space, e-commerce, marketplaces, procurement, even application security. So in a way, that was a little bit challenging because sometimes people are looking for someone who has been in one industry exclusively. So that was one of the hurdles that I was trying to overcome.
Let's talk about that because that is indeed a bit of an issue. There was definitely a phase where it's like, oh, we love generalists. We love
Yeah.
people who have big experience in different areas. And then it's like an area of specialist again. And then it just keeps on changing. But that's definitely something that I hear from others as well, being a
Yeah.
bit of a challenge at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, coming up with the internet, I was very much a generalist. I don't have a
Yeah.
background in human factors. I didn't go to school for design. My background was in geophysics and geology. So this was definitely a career transition. And I did feel some of that pressure these days where people are looking
Yeah.
for certifications and degrees.
Yeah, but that was never an issue before, right?
No, I feel like it's been this market. I
It's
guess there has been specialization and more
sure.
certifications since then.
So how long have you been now a designer?
That's 25 years.
25 years. Okay, so you've seen all different types of design evolutions as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, and my titles changed over time, but followed your advice about standardizing the titles in my portfolio and
For
LinkedIn and the
sure.
resume.
Just to make it very easy for people to understand who looks at it. All right. So speaking of challenges, tell me a bit about some of the challenges you were facing in your job search before you discovered the program.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I redid my online materials because I had gotten jobs through colleagues. So I didn't really have to promote myself. I took a month and I did my best on my own with those
Mhm.
materials and then did the pray and spray, just looked on LinkedIn for things that seemed suitable. And I
Yeah.
didn't hear back pretty much. And I did reach out to some people in the network, but not so heavily. So that lack of traction, the constant rejection or ghosting, and I hadn't been in the market recently, so I felt like I needed help. I mean, when you do usability, you get feedback, but this is like,
Right.
oh, you don't get feedback here. That's what prompted me to join the program. And specifically on those aspects, like the online materials and presence, I feel benefited greatly from this program because I hadn't been reviewing resumes and I hadn't been writing resumes in
Yeah.
years. So that really made a difference to talk with Nils and to say, what are my stories? I didn't have a story catalog. I'd forgotten more projects than I remembered. So the story catalog, going into the utilizing ChatGPT to streamline the wording and letting go of my ego and pride a little bit, like this is not a novel. This is like get it done. So it's okay
Yeah.
to use ChatGPT to streamline that wording and then
Yeah.
narrow it down to your resume. And then that feeds to LinkedIn. That was super helpful. And I shared the stats in the group calls or posts before, like my stats did go up once I updated these online materials and you encouraged us to post, like I could track. And now that I haven't been, I can see those numbers go
Mm.
back down.
Oh, interesting. You were very
Measurable.
consistent actually with content for a while.
Yeah, on Thursdays, the
Oh,
day I picked.
that's awesome. I don't think you posted content before that, right?
Nope.
Okay. So first time with us here.
Yeah, yeah. So once I sat down and I had some ideas, it was fun to think through it.
For sure. Folks in the program have a lot to say. So I do always encourage them to get their voice out, to get their opinions out.
I found it did help prepare for interviews and that
Yeah.
approach you said, like, talk about something that is a little bit of a weakness or stumbling
Mm.
block and think through what you're going to say in an interview. That helped me kind of frame my thoughts for the question of tell me about your user research experience. Well, I don't have a
Yes.
formal, but I did corporate voice of the customer these other ways. So it all
Totally.
helped.
You kind of like almost disarm it by thinking ahead of time already in terms of what are some possible things that you could have against me, you
Yeah.
know? And then just talk about how you got it all wrong, and it's actually a really strong advantage I can bring to the table.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, what do you think made you choose this program in particular over other options? And by other options, I mean, anything from continue to do it by yourself or YouTubing or go with another coach.
Probably two things. First, I tend to lean towards wanting professional help when I
Mm,
feel stuck enough. I'll give it the old college try myself. And if it's
yeah,
not getting results, I'm like, okay, let's fast track the equivalent of
yeah,
private lessons. So I'm predisposed to that a little bit, I think. And then also, I think it was your outreach. There might have been other programs that reached out, but I don't
I'm
remember.
sure.
Either they weren't
I'm sure.
memorable or the
Yeah.
timing wasn't right. Like I wasn't at that point where I was looking for it. A little bit of serendipity. And I feel like your message was compelling. It's like, why not?
You mentioned that you try a bit yourself, but then once it's enough, then you look for professional help. How do we know when is enough as it relates to this context in particular, like with the job search? When do we know that's enough?
Enough of trying on your own, you mean,
Yeah.
before you see?
Yeah.
Well, time-wise, I had several months. Yeah, it was like 4 months, 3, 4 months until the holidays, and then I sort of shut off my brain for the holidays. So I was hoping I would get something in that time.
Right.
And when I saw that I wasn't special anymore, wasn't getting results in that time frame, that's what started to tip me off. So the
Yeah.
duration of being unemployed is a factor. Maybe that's the biggest factor. And then also you reach a saturation point where there's only so many YouTube videos and articles you can
Yeah.
read, and a lot are the same, but a lot have a different twist, and it just gets
Yeah.
overwhelming if no one tell me what to do.
Yeah. We already talked a little bit about that, but what specific problems do you think the program helped you solve?
I've made a list. So
Oh, you made a
yeah,
list. Of
yeah,
course you did. Of
I've
course
got
you
my,
did.
my little notes.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I'm gonna miss you.
But you'll still see me on LinkedIn every so
That's
often.
true. That's true. And then in
Uh,
the alumni call as well that we're gonna
Yeah.
have.
So for me, I feel like the online materials were a big hurdle because I didn't know what I didn't know. And even though Coach John went through pretty much one case study and then my overall site, I mean, that feedback was so invaluable. I restructured all my case studies based on his feedback. On analytics, it's hard because it's not volume, but I can see people scrolling. They're looking at the big headlines and going down the page. So I think it made a difference. So the online materials, and like I said, the LinkedIn profile, optimizing that for SEO, that would not have occurred to me. I mean, it should. It didn't. It was more
Yeah,
about me and my content, but
right.
I think I was getting found by recruiters because
Yeah.
of the keywords. So all that online presence was a huge benefit to me. The interview guidance, especially in the weekly call, the tips about recording yourself and
Yeah.
practicing. I didn't do enough practicing. I didn't record enough videos.
But you had a lot of interviews, so that was
Like,
almost practice in real life.
yeah, just knowing that you should is the first step. And then knowing the approach, that list of questions, interview questions is helpful. And it just got me into the mindset of, okay, I'm going to prepare, look at the job description,
Yeah,
the
like you have a
requirements.
system. You have
What
an
might happen? What's the best time for recruiter interviews? What do you want to say to them on LinkedIn? Follow up on email, all of that communication and the phrasing. People have questions and post them in Circle, and we get advice about how to
yeah.
handle. So that's helpful to know there's someone that you can go to and ask.
And these are all questions where you would normally just sit there and do a guessing game, Google, or bang your head against the wall, right?
And each person is unique and individual, so you can't predict every behavior, but it's nice to know that there's some statistics behind it, and it's likely they would receive
Yeah.
it this way or likely that way. I think the networking information was useful, though I didn't use it as much. If I had, I would have found something faster. The bridge network,
Oh,
the
yes.
10 companies and the three
Yes.
people. I understand the concept though. So if I find myself in the same position in the future, at least I
It
know
is.
that's another tactic I can work on. And then I think the last thing has been really valuable is the cohort, like the companionship of supporting each other and getting to know each other, even though you don't know them super in depth. But I've been out with Yuka a couple times, and
Yeah.
also I talk with
Yeah.
her on LinkedIn. I'm rooting for Louie and Abby and Joe and Mark and Shanice. So
Yeah.
you develop this investment in the
Mhm.
people in the program, and you feel I in turn felt supported as well.
Mhm.
It's nice to know there are people you can talk to and you don't feel quite as alone and so
Oh,
much like a
absolutely.
loser.
And also, these are people in the same situation, in the same walk of life. And
Yeah.
so they're very keen on talking also more about it, whereas others are like, well, it's not a topic I want to talk about every day if they're in a very different situation.
Right. Yeah. People who know, who get it. And it was nice to like, I've met up in person with Jonah as well. And I'm not sure how to say
Oh,
Ebby,
amazing. Okay, cool.
Ebby. Um,
Avi,
sometimes
yeah.
Ebby.
Evie, you met up with him as well?
Yeah, we got coffee.
Oh, amazing. Okay,
Yeah, so
cool.
several people. Yeah. It's just
Oh, that's so
it's just
cool. I
nice,
love that.
Yeah.
You guys should post pictures
I
on the
know. Every
community.
time I left,
Did
I'm
you
like,
take a
oh,
picture or
gotta
no?
take.
You guys didn't take a picture.
No, no, only the one with Yuka at the AI conference. I posted that one, but yeah,
Yeah.
every other time I forgot.
Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
God. I know that Melody, like some LA crowd also met up.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
It's amazing to hear that. I should encourage people to take more pictures of that, especially for designers. Come on.
I know.
But it's so nice that you also met up with some of the newer folks as well. I love that.
And they reach out to me on
Yeah.
Circle like DMs as well. Like Svet, we had a nice long
Right.
thread
Yeah.
going. I like how it fosters those connections and companionship. And privately, you can also kind of let down your guard. So that's helpful.
How has being part of the program impacted your confidence or mindset, would you say?
I think it helped my mindset 100% because I was feeling pretty down. And when I started to realize I'm not getting replies, I immediately thought I'm too old. I don't have the right credentials and experience. Everyone else has gone to these other trainings. And I start to feel like, oh, I'm never going to get a job in UX again. Started to look
Yeah.
at program management and project management and accounting.
No.
um, you know,
But that's where our brain always goes to, though.
yeah.
It's natural. It's very human. That just means that you have a human brain and not an AI brain.
Especially the high quality no for me
Mhm.
was a different way of thinking. And I do think that especially really helped. I mean, it's easy to say that in hindsight because now I have something that feels like the best fit, but I
Yeah.
can look back at all the things I posted as high quality no's and see that wasn't as
Yeah.
good a fit as this. So
It makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, it makes
There,
sense.
in most cases, you can see it pretty much immediately. The one that you get is just so much better
Mhm.
than it's just a much better fit than the other ones.
So I think with mindset, it kept me going. And I also felt like there was always something to learn or something to
Mm.
practice. And I do have a friend from Inception, my previous company. He and I were the last people who hadn't found anything. He's an engineer and he's pretty
Yeah.
down. If I didn't have this group, I feel like I might have let
Mm.
myself stay dragged down. It's nice to gripe and complain and get it off your
Yeah.
chest, but too much of that can
Yeah.
be harmful. So I felt like this did
100%.
counteract that.
100%. And
Mhm.
then you would come in the group, and I'm just like, why are you so down? I don't understand. People are still getting hired. Let's get back to work. Was there any surprising aspect of the program, or what's been the most surprising change you've experienced?
I'm not sure. Would it be the interviewing, the speaking part? Maybe I remember I think I said this before, in the first meeting when you asked, how are you at interviewing? Do you think you're good? And I remember saying, yeah, I think so. But then, oh my gosh, being put in these scenarios, it's more intense than in the past when I had interviewed.
Yeah.
And the variety of questions and having those extra years of experiences to sort out in my brain, it
Mm.
was more challenging than I thought it was going to be. And I did
Yeah.
find the advice here was more helpful than I expected it to be because of
Yeah.
that.
That's really interesting to hear because I do talk to a bunch of folks and they recall the last time they interviewed. It was during a booming market. When it was a candidates market, it's just much easier to interview knowing that you have so much leverage. You have multiple companies, multiple recruiters reaching out to you, right? And so I do have a lot of folks saying, yeah, I'm pretty good at that. I believe some of it, but I'm also setting the standard. Right now, you need to be so polished in a way that you've just not been asked to do before.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and everyone has to be in sales and marketing in addition to whatever job they actually do. And the rest
Yeah.
of us have to learn that. There's so
Yes.
many times I remember thinking like, oh, I'm so done. I'm so overselling myself. I just want to design something.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's sales and self-brand, self-marketing and self-sales, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the idea of being able to do something that you wouldn't do normally on your own, but having a group, having a systematic approach and the rationale behind it as well, which is very tangible. We are doing this in order to build personal authority online in that space and also to combat already some negative biases against you upfront. And we're measuring success based on the search results that you come up there and the inbound, basically, how many people have seen your profile, how many people comment and like, engage with it, how many reach out to you with relevant opportunities. And so it's something that you can really measure instead of, oh, I'm doing it out of vanity or something. You know what I mean?
I like,
Very
look at me, I'm so good. Yeah.
exactly.
And that's one aspect that took a little bit to get settled and refined because in the beginning, when we were trying to do the funnel, the different stages, focusing more
Yeah.
on outreach, and I
Yeah.
wasn't doing so much of that. So I felt it was a little hard to do the tracking.
But you had great results though in the beginning, right? You had great results in terms of the eyeballs, you getting the
Yeah,
impressions.
I was more attracting inbound and
Yeah.
then responding, taking energy and time to respond to them. So then I wasn't dedicating it to the outbound and being able to measure my funnel that way.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
I more had to flip it and, like you said,
Yeah.
think of how many contacts did I have this week inbound, and then did I actually reply to them all? So I adjusted my
Right.
spreadsheet to track communications,
Yeah,
touch
yeah,
points.
yeah. Right. And I feel like if people are targeting rather smaller companies, startups, similar to yourself, it is the inbound strategy that's going to work better just because people in that space, a lot of them are also in stealth mode. And so they definitely don't just go in there and talk about their companies and their opportunities, right? And so you have to get out there and say, here, this is me. If I'm what you're looking for secretly, then reach out.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe half of the recruiter inbound messages were for either stealth or fairly new companies.
But then once you get picked up by those, it also improves the algorithm so that the other ones also see you. So it
Yeah, I was
just
wondering.
more lift.
And it did help through networking from one interview that didn't work out, put me in touch with that one recruiter at Amplify.
Was so helpful.
Yes. So I also made a list of all the people I interacted with along this journey, my gratitude list. So he's on there.
Yeah, for sure. But don't just keep it to yourself. Actually send them a note and update them. Tell them about the process and how they've been helpful and what you've now landed and how you're thankful because you never know when you're going to need to interact again. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also it's going to make their day as well. And so why not if they have been helpful?
Good idea.
Okay. So the most important thing, how do you feel about your life now compared to before you joined the program?
I'm so relieved. That's a big deal. But yeah, I mean, there is so much stress before with the financial situation. And when my husband was a teacher, you can't just look for something else mid-year or add more
Yeah.
hours. It's set until the next August. So
Mm.
that was pretty stressful for our finances. But yeah, so primarily for that, it's like, oh, okay, we can
Oh,
like eat
you can
out.
like relieve and breathe again.
Yes,
And start planning as well.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the relief is the biggest thing. And I guess the second thing is it's that validation that someone recognizes that I still have value in this industry and my experience does count for something and I will be able to put it to good use and help someone, with this work.
100%. Yeah. Tell us the good news. What offer did you end up with?
Yes, I was offered a principal UX architect at Ambry Genetics.
That's amazing. I love the architect part about it too, because it's literally you. Like that's
Yes.
literally how we described you, sometimes without using the word, but
Yeah.
that's actually you.
Yeah. And once my friend said that was the time, like, oh, okay. Yeah, that feels better. That feels right. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with designer. I still enjoy the UI side of things too. It's just I'm probably stronger in the other side.
100%. That's always been your strong point in terms of seeing through complexities, cleaning a mess and
Yeah.
turning it into something workable. And then also that makes so much sense because they can leverage much more of your skills compared to some other companies that might see some of your weaknesses as a lag in terms of, oh, maybe she doesn't have as much visuals and stuff. You should never try to compete on your weaknesses anyway, right? I wouldn't say weakness, but like shortcomings based on experience in that area or whatever it is, but always try to maximize the part that you do already have and you are really strong at it, and try to find that place that actually is looking for exactly that.
Yeah, that's the thing about, in hindsight, fit
Yeah.
is so clear. Although while you're in the middle of it, it feels like I can try all these things. I could do it. And it's probably true, but it's nice when you
Yeah.
have that Goldilocks experience. Not too hard, not too soft, not too hot, not too cold, just right.
Totally. What advice would you give someone who is considering joining the program but is a little bit on the fence? You've been there as well yourself. So what advice would you give them? That's
Someone
good.
who's considering joining the program is on the fence. I think this program gives a lot of multi-pronged approaches that when you put them all together and you really take advantage of it, it can just make you feel more secure and give you a plan. That's what I felt like it helped with for me. I just wasn't sure. This gave me 5 different dimensions to focus on. Of you want to give each one 100%, but you can't. So you prioritize the things that resonate best with you and try different things. I feel like this enabled me to have experimentation, like with user research. You try this, and it pointed me to try this, try that, try that. And if it didn't work, oh, it's okay. Don't do it. Try something else. Whereas when I was on my own, it was just kind of like lost.
Like you don't even know what else to try oftentimes.
Right. Because there's just so much advice out there.
Noise.
Noise. Yeah. It's hard to know where's the signal and where do I start. I feel if there are people in a similar boat, then that can be really helpful.
What were some of the hesitations that you have before joining the program? Because I'm sure you had some, right? And so if you remember them.
It was the cost, the upfront cost. And at the time, there weren't so many testimonials online. So I couldn't gauge the effectiveness of the program and see people who actually did get jobs afterwards and benefit.
So in a way, you took a bigger leap of faith actually compared to people who join now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of my personality. Like I'll analyze a lot, have my spreadsheets and the factors, and then the last bit to get over the hurdle is just that gut feeling. I just had a gut feeling.
That's how the most successful people make decisions. I mean, even Jeff Bezos saying for the biggest decisions, you need 60% data. And the reason for that is not just because they need to move fast and all this, but literally because you don't have reliable data for the remaining 40%. And so you just anticipate it, you just collect those 60 and then you move with your gut instinct and the data that you have.
Yeah, it's how we decided to buy this house, and the time to have kids was the time to have kids. Analysis before that, and then okay, I think this is the right house. And like, okay, let's have kids. Just one day.
So how did you overcome those hesitations? Is the answer basically gut instinct, like go with the data you have and then gut instinct?
Yes, because you can only analyze so much. And in the end, if you end up doing nothing, then nothing's going to change. So I had this opportunity in front of me. I was like, why not? It feels good. What they're saying makes sense to me. And then I saw the testimonials and like, okay, let's do it.
That's awesome. All right. I don't want to take more of your time, but thank you so much for being an excellent, amazing client and also just human being. I'm really glad that we reached out to you, that we found you and had the chance to work with you.
Likewise, thanks for reaching out. And it has been like, you're so real, and everyone that you hire is like a real person who gets people. So it's a relief when you're trying to deal with all this other stressful stuff. Very helpful.